State Department over there has officially confirmed in an official statement that they are monitoring Britain over the Lucy Connolly case, that they are very worried about that housewife who got 31 months for a few nasty words on Twitter. They think that her very condition is the epitome of what's going wrong in this country, and that freedom of speech and freedom of expression is at danger. And any Prime Minister, in my view, who presides over a justice system that sends people to jail for things they write on social media needs to have a word with himself.
Just minutes ago, British politics cracked wide open. Keir Starmer, once hailed as Labour's safe pair of hands, is now at the centre of an international scandal that could end his career and take the party down with him. At the heart of the storm is one name: Lucy Connolly. Her buried allegations, long dismissed and hidden, have exploded into public view. What started as an internal complaint is now a global reckoning. The evidence is damning. The fallout is massive, and Starmer, he's nowhere to be seen. This is the story of how one voice shattered a political empire. For a long time, Lucy Connolly's case existed in the shadows.
Look at this, to monitor this, on this, what many people see as a really big attack, not just on free speech, but on proportionality when it comes to dealing with things that people put online. Now, I think she shouldn't have put it online. I think it was wrong to do so, but she should have been given a slap in the wrist, a talking to, or at the most a caution, certainly not a custodial sentence.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it was vile, but the punishment doesn't fit the crime, and I think everybody's picked up on this, and I've been interested to see people across the political spectrum say that. You know, people I know to be very left-wing and, you know, would find statements like that just beyond the pale. They've said she doesn't deserve a prison sentence. In terms of the US State Department taking an interest in it, I find this fascinating, and, you know, just anecdotally, people I speak to, opinions very mixed, because, you know, there are a lot of people who don't like the US meddling in our affairs. They're like, no, we're a sovereign country, we sort these issues out ourselves, come the next election.
Tucked away in sealed files, brushed aside in meetings and dismissed as too politically dangerous to touch. Inside Labour, her name was treated like a problem to manage, not a person to protect. The priority wasn't justice, it was damage control. But that strategy has backfired spectacularly. The leaked internal report didn't just surface, it detonated. What it revealed was a coordinated effort to sideline Lucy's allegations, one that involved senior figures, carefully worded legal memos, and instructions to minimize exposure. It's not just that her claims were ignored. Evidence now suggests she was actively pressured to drop them. And
we have a woman called Lucy Connolly who's been given a 31-month prison sentence for saying something unpleasant on social media in the wake of the horrific murders of 3 young girls in Southport. She should not be in prison, period.
The damning part, Keir Starmer was reportedly briefed about all of it. Not in passing, not secondhand. He knew. He was warned. And still, the party doubled down on silence. That silence is now cracking. Phone lines inside Labour offices are lighting up. Staffers are panicking. And MPs who once stood firmly behind their leader are starting to feel the ground shift beneath them. This isn't a party caught off guard. This is a party caught in the act. What once felt like an internal Labour crisis is now a global spectacle. In just hours, the Lucy Connolly scandal has exploded beyond the UK's borders. Major human rights organisations across North America and Europe are weighing in. International headlines aren't just reporting on the story, they're demanding accountability. The United Nations Human Rights Council has quietly flagged the issue for review. In Brussels, members of the European Parliament have raised formal concerns about transparency and abuse of power within a major UK political party. And, across Canada and the US, prominent watchdog groups are calling for full investigations. All eyes are now on Starmer. For a man who built his brand on integrity and law, the optics are devastating. His silence is being interpreted not as caution, but as guilt. Voters see a leader hiding. The world sees a party in freefall. Inside...
But actually, maybe being a good ally is saying to us when we've gone astray. And I think the US does have a particular interest in this because from what we know, J.D. Vance has raised the issue of the Online Safety Act. He said it in that televised press conference with Keir Starmer, who sort of brushed it off and didn't want to talk about it. They don't like that US tech companies could be liable for enormous fines as laid out in the Online Safety Act. I'm not saying that the tech companies have a perfect track record. I mean, look at what happened during COVID. They shut down lots of speech. They said they were under pressure from the Biden White House to do so, but now they really want to move away from it. So this administration seems to be taking an incredibly muscular attitude to free speech. And, we're not the only country having this discussion. Look at what's going on in South Africa now. I suppose the question is they can raise the issue, they can send people to monitor it.
Labour, the panic is spreading. PR teams are scrambling to rewrite statements. Loyal MPs are going quiet. And insiders are already whispering about resignations. The scandal isn't slowing down, it's accelerating, with global momentum and no off switch in sight. Inside Labour HQ, the mood has turned from defensive to desperate. Starmer may still be holding the title of party leader, but the loyalty that once surrounded him is fracturing by the hour. Senior MPs aren't just frustrated, they're furious. And now some of them are quietly organising to take him down. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere is toxic. Long-trusted advisors are distancing themselves. Party strategists are leaking information. Internal WhatsApp groups are filled with anxiety, confusion, and whispers of revolt. There's talk of defections, there's talk of resignations, and more dangerously, there's serious talk of triggering a leadership challenge. Normally, these kinds of discussions would be dismissed as noise, but this time they're real. The Lucy Connolly revelations have struck a nerve far deeper than any policy misstep or campaign blunder. This isn't about poor messaging, it's about betrayal, and the betrayal feels personal. For a party that promised to be different, the accusations cut to the core of its identity. MPs are weighing the risk of standing by Starmer against the cost of political suicide, and many are concluding he's become a liability too big to defend. It's not just Labour MPs turning against Starmer, it's the party's foundation. The grassroots movement that once powered Labour's campaigns, knocked on doors and filled town halls is now crumbling under the weight of betrayal. Constituency offices are in chaos, organisers are quitting, volunteers are walking away mid-campaign. In key northern towns, traditional Labour heartlands, the anger is boiling over. Local leaders are resigning in protest. Open letters are being circulated calling Starmer's silence disgraceful and his leadership morally hollow. The message from the base is clear. This is not what they signed up for. And by one, local party branches are suspending activities. Some say they can't ask voters to trust a party that hides abuse and punishes truth-tellers. Others admit they're fielding non-stop calls from constituents demanding Starmer's resignation. And the backlash isn't confined to Labour loyalists. Protests are erupting across the country. Petitions are surging with hundreds of thousands of signatures. Hashtags like Justice for Lucy are dominating social media, uniting activists, influencers, and everyday people in a growing wave of outrage. This isn't a political stumble, it's a collapse in trust. And for Labour, the damage might already be irreversible. The press is no longer playing catch-up, it's leading the charge. Even the outlets once considered friendly to Labour, The Guardian, The Independent, are now publishing blistering critiques, editorials demanding accountability, op-eds questioning Starmer's future, and exposés that pull no punches. But it's not just the left-leaning media piling on. Right-wing publications have seized the moment, dissecting every paragraph of the leaked documents, highlighting every name and pushing the narrative of Labour's moral collapse. Starmer isn't just under scrutiny, he's being shredded. The BBC has dropped all pretense of neutrality, launching a full investigative special complete with whistleblower interviews and exclusive internal memos. It's no longer a question of if this scandal will stick, it already has. Even international broadcasters are treating the story like a national crisis. CNN, Al Jazeera, France 24, they're all airing primetime coverage. For the first time, the world is watching not a British election, but a British reckoning. And it's only getting worse. The leaks haven't stopped. Insiders keep talking. More files are surfacing. And there's growing fear within Labour that the Lucy Connolly case is just the beginning. That what's coming next could be even more explosive. just when it seemed the scandal had reached its peak, another layer cracked open, this time inside Labour's own legal department. Leaked emails now show that party lawyers had flagged the Lucy Connolly case months ago, warning senior leadership that ignoring her claims could trigger serious reputational and legal fallout. But instead of addressing those concerns, the top brass allegedly pushed them aside. Lucy's case was marked low priority. Her evidence, some of it documented and submitted through official channels, was shelved. Staff were allegedly told to handle it quietly. Some of those staff are now preparing to speak out. Insiders say at least 3 legal advisors are considering turning whistleblower, unwilling to be complicit in what they now see as a deliberate suppression effort. If they do come forward, they could confirm what many already suspect, that Labour's leadership chose silence and strategy over transparency and justice. The legal risks are mounting, not just civil lawsuits, but the possibility of criminal investigations. This is no longer just a political crisis, it's becoming a legal one too. And as Labour's legal firewall starts to crumble, so does the illusion that this scandal can be contained. The crisis has outgrown Britain. What began as a domestic scandal has now turned into a full-blown international incident. Human rights groups in Australia, Canada, and across the EU are sounding alarms. Demonstrations have already been announced outside British consulates, and in parliaments abroad, foreign MPs are asking questions the UK government seems unwilling or unable to answer. In Ottawa, lawmakers across party lines have called on the UK to open a full inquiry. In Brussels, officials are demanding clarity on whether British political parties are honouring international commitments to human rights and transparency. Even the United Nations has begun collecting documentation, signalling that they're watching closely. Starmer's refusal to confront the scandal is now fueling global outrage. In his most recent public appearance, an awkward school visit with no questions allowed only deepened the perception that he's hiding. Footage of the visit quickly went viral, criticised as tone-deaf, robotic and cowardly. While Lucy Connolly's voice is only getting louder, her legal team is preparing what they describe as a comprehensive public statement, backed by audio files, internal communications, and a timeline that may implicate even more senior Labour figures. This isn't just a political scandal anymore, it's turning into a test case for the moral integrity of British democracy on the world stage. Inside Labour, the atmosphere has turned apocalyptic. Staffers described offices at a standstill, departments paralysed, morale in free fall, and at the centre of it all is a silent leader, offering no clarity, no accountability, just an empty seat while the party burns. For many inside the organisation, this moment feels worse than the Corbyn years. Not because of ideological infighting, but because of something deeper, a complete breakdown in trust. It's no longer just about winning elections. It's about whether the party can even claim to stand for justice anymore. Local branches, the ones that actually connect with voters, are starting to collapse. In places like Manchester, Leeds and Sheffield, long-time volunteers are stepping down. Constituency chairs are submitting scathing resignation letters accusing the leadership of betraying everything Labour is supposed to represent. And they're not holding back. Some of the letters now circulating online call Starmer's silence a stain on the party and accuse the leadership of sacrificing victims in order to protect careers. With campaign operations on pause, donations drying up, and entire teams walking out, Labour isn't just losing public support, it's losing its soul. The silence is over. In a moment that felt more like a courtroom than a press conference, Lucy Connolly stepped in front of the cameras and delivered the statement that detonated everything. Her voice was steady, but her words cut deep. For the first time, she laid out exactly what happened and who knew about it. She didn't speak in vague terms, she named names. 3 senior figures within Starmer's orbit, all allegedly briefed on her case, all accused of participating in a coordinated effort to shut her down. She outlined how her reports were ignored, how her evidence was filed and forgotten, and how warnings were issued to her, not for her protection, but to make her stay quiet. And then came the final blow. Almost immediately after Lucy's statement, a trove of internal documents leaked to the press. The files included WhatsApp messages, internal memos, and email threads. One message joked about burying Lucy's story before the weekend headlines. Another described her complaint as another Me Too disaster we don't need. It was no longer just her word, it was proof. And that proof ripped through the political establishment like a shockwave. Protests erupted, journalists swarmed Parliament, international media ran wall-to-wall coverage, Lucy's story was out. And now, there's no putting it back in the box. Keir Starmer's leadership has collapsed. Lucy Connolly's public statement didn't just ignite outrage, it triggered a mass exodus. Shadow cabinet members resigned, constituency offices shut down, donors vanished, and Labour's election hopes shattered. Starmer's televised apology came off cold and rehearsed, failing to calm a party in freefall. Meanwhile, Reform UK surged. Farage filled streets in Labour strongholds, declaring his party the new voice of accountability. The Conservatives followed suit, calling for a full inquiry and positioning themselves as the more stable alternative. Polls now show Labour bleeding support. Reform is gaining fast. Voters who once trusted Labour now feel betrayed and they're walking away. Lucy's story has become a symbol. She's not just one voice, she's a warning. And her courage has triggered a reckoning, not just in politics but across global headlines. Human rights groups and international watchdogs are circling. The world is watching. And Starmer, still silent, still absent. But his silence no longer protects him. Labour isn't just facing a scandal, it's facing a collapse. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do you forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments.